What's going on, guys? Brian here, and wow, what a week this is turning out to be. Just this past Tuesday, I experienced my very first earthquake. I mean, granted, it was down in Virginia. It was a magnitude 5.8 earthquake, and it was felt up and down the entire East Coast. I want to say it was all the way up to Maine, and as far west as Indianapolis in the state of Indiana. I mean, in Philly, it was pretty minor. I mean, it lasted maybe 45 seconds, give or take. I was just sitting up at the counter at my office, watching some YouTube videos and reading some news stories on Yahoo, CNN, and whatnot. And for the first couple seconds, when everything started shaking, I didn't even really notice. I tend to get pretty engrossed in what I'm watching, listening to, or reading about. And a couple of my coworkers were like, "Do you feel that?" And I'm like, "What?" And then all of a sudden, I focused a little bit, and I noticed that my chair was shaking, and the floor was shaking underneath me. My laptop screen was shaking a little bit. The monitors were vibrating, and I'm like, okay. But honestly, I really didn't react much beyond that. I didn't get out of my chair or anything. I mean, one of the guys that I work with panicked just a little bit, because honestly, nowadays you just don't know what it could be. I mean, it could have been a bomb going off somewhere, and like I mentioned in the last video, it could have been a nuclear weapon in Philadelphia for all we know. So I do work right outside Philadelphia. I can see Center City from where I'm at, and you just don't know these days. But very quickly, we checked online and whatnot, and saw breaking news on CNN and everything else. A 5.8 quake hit Virginia, so we pretty much knew what it was right away. And we were all saying that, wow, we felt our first earthquake up here. And now, since it's Friday night, I have a hurricane heading my way now, too. I work right outside of Philadelphia, and I live right outside of Philadelphia in New Jersey, right across all the major bridges. And we have Hurricane Irene bearing down in the area. I think later on tonight or tomorrow morning, it's going to hit the Outer Banks of North Carolina. And then starting Saturday night into, I want to say the official hurricane bands or whatever are going to hit the New Jersey coast, or 4 a.m., 6 a.m., something like that. And I spent pretty much last night and pretty much most of the day today, just trying to prepare as much as I possibly could. Because this one I'm taking a little bit more seriously. Main reason for it is, a few years back, my wife and I went on vacation with my father and my stepmother to Disney World. My father is a member of the Disney Vacation Club, and they go down there every single year. And a few years back, they decided to take my wife and I. This is a few months before we got our puppy, which is now 3 years old. But I do have a 90-gallon fish tank, which I mentioned in one of my previous videos. And I do have a friend of mine who keeps his drums in my basement. The guy whose band I go see all the time with my wife, and he used to come over and just feed the fish for us at night, and swing by, maybe play his drums a little bit in the afternoon after work, which he still does, and I said just check on the house and whatnot while we were away. Well, a couple days, I guess he decided he didn't really feel like playing drums. He was just going to come over in the evening and feed the fish or whatnot. So we actually had a pretty bad rainstorm up here. And you don't think anything of it. I mean, I have a basement, but I have a sump pump down there, and then we just handles everything, and you really don't have to think about it. Except this time, a day or two before we were getting back from vacation, apparently the sump pump failed after that storm, or during that storm, and my wife and I got back to the house around 10 o'clock that night after we got landed at the airport and everything else and headed home. And as we walked up the driveway, we started to see moisture on our family room windows. And as soon as we opened up the front door, we smelled a mildewy, moldy, just funk smell. And I looked at the fish tank. I'm like, okay, I thought maybe the fish tank exploded or something weird happened. But the fish tank was intact. So I immediately opened up the basement door, and lo and behold, I found almost a foot of water down there. So after that, I replaced the sump pump, because the one I pulled out of there looked like a relic from the Titanic. So I did all the work, replaced my sump pump and everything else. But the main concern with the hurricane that's coming is this area has had so much rain this month that the ground is just so incredibly saturated that with the 6 to 8 to 10 or more inches of rain we're expected from this hurricane, and the high winds and everything else, and the ground already being so wet, we're expecting some pretty extensive power outages, which, depending upon the extent of them, could last for days. So I went out and actually bought a generator so that I can run my sump pump if the power fails, because I'm not going through a repeat of the basement flooding, because last time that actually fried my heater, my furnace, which cost me over a couple $1,000s to replace. You know, washer, dryers down there, freezers down there, and all this other stuff that got damaged last time. So, and also half my basement is finished. So it cost me pretty much several $1,000s to replace all that last time. So if I had to go out and buy a generator for $350, no problem at all. Yesterday we picked up 4 or 5 gallon gas cans and a couple small ones, so I got about 25 gallons of gasoline to run that generator for about 3 days. So I can keep my sump pump running, I'll keep my refrigerator running, and I'll be able to turn a few lights on in the house as well. And if need be, if power stays out longer than that, I'll siphon gas out of our cars to go even longer. But with all that stuff running, I'm not going to have enough juice in that generator to run my computer and everything else, or my Xbox. So this may be the last video you see from me for a few days. But follow me on Twitter. I'll keep in touch with you guys that way and keep you posted on what's going on around here. And that link will be in the description. And as always, I hope you really did enjoy the video. I will talk to all you soon, and I hope you have a good one.